So for the first one, I need you to stand where you can kind of see the video, and even whether you're playing or not, just don't leave me hanging because I can't see it at all anymore. You have to walk the plank. Oh, thank you. Can I have one? Can you the feel of this one more time? Yeah, do what you need to do. Yeah. Just getting the feel of this too one more time. Can you just sort of hum and tap it for me? So it's in my mind's ear when I use it. Or even the refrain, okay, got it. Thank you. Helpful, very helpful.
Ladies and gentlemen, a brief announcement before we begin. There was a bracelet apparently that was dropped with black and white beads and a few letters. If it belongs to you, I have it in an envelope up here.
That's how I got up, yeah. Doberman Liner, Dachshund Liner, Dalmatian Liner. And then if I start, if you need to get back out here, just get back out around front so you can see that's over. That's the main thing.
If everybody can find their seats, we're going to begin.
Are we going to sit down there then? Or we're not?
So, first of all, welcome to all of you who are here with us this evening, both members of HAMAKOM and guests. We are Rabbis Kamras and Vogel, co-rabbis of HAMAKOM, and we are incredibly sad that we have to be here this evening. We've gathered to mark the first anniversary of the October 7th events that are unparalleled by any means or measure, events whose resulting shockwaves and upheavals in Israel's society and among Israelis and Jews across the globe were amongst the most difficult that we have experienced. Our worlds have been upended. We can still remember where each one of us was when we heard the news that we could not imagine was actually true. Shock and disbelief were our reactions. And still today, 1 year later, it feels like we are in a perpetual Shiva. Every day, every moment, another possible death, another possible loss, and the war still going. In Israel, when they began the October 7th memorial, the news decided in the evening to read every name of every soldier and civilian that was killed, murdered, maimed since October 7th. And it took all night long to read those names. That is horrifying. Words cannot capture the enormous loss that we feel. And that's why we gather this evening, not for words, but for imagery, for music and melody, because sometimes that is the most important way in which we can connect with what is in our soul.
I remember that morning at services. Remember, we were beginning to get just little tidbits of what was happening. And only later did we feel the great sense, more than just pain and the acts of barbaric magnitude that were committed. But if you don't know that area near Gaza, Otef Aza, it is actually some of the most beautiful areas of hope and peace. These were, many of them, farmers, artists, and others who actually built these communities to be close by with the hope that there could be peace. If you visit Israel, have any of you been to the Peace Wall? Raise your hand if you've ever been to the Peace Wall. Peace Wall was a great sense of hope. Tiles that you would put there, and it said in Arabic and Hebrew and in English, peace, shalom, salam. That sense of hope was shattered. To understand what it really meant to those people in the area was to have your home violated. So much you hoped for. Sense of loss of life, loss of hope, loss of soul in many ways. So tonight we're going to acknowledge all of that and try and bring meaning, not just in memory, but in hope and strength for us and strength for Israel. We're going to be able to see some of the I think, the montage of the pictures that have taken place prior to the actual atrocities of that day and after as well.
Tonight we remember the over 1,200 women, children, men, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers who were brutally murdered by Hamas 1 year ago today. I want to invite us all to please rise for a moment of silence for all of those taken too soon. Following the events of October 7th, Yael Sever, an Israeli author, wrote a version of Yizkor dedicated to that day. May the people of Israel remember its sons and daughters, the loyal and the brave, the soldiers of the Israeli Defense Forces, the first responders, the members of the intelligence who risked their lives during the events of the Black Shabbat, who ran to lead the forces that saved the people from the murderers, the savages, from the terrorist organizations. May Israel remember and be blessed by its offspring and mourn the radiance of lost youth, the bravery and sanctity of their will and self-sacrifice. May they remember the bravery of the kibbutzim, the moshavim, and the cities which stood guard until they had no strength left. May they remember the officers who led the forces, the soldiers, the father and mother who with their bodies defended their families but were unable to save them. May we always remember them. You may be seated.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gal Pearl. I'm an Israeli-American singer. I want to introduce myself before I start to sing for you all, guys. It is with deep honor to stand here with you on this meaningful evening. This past year has been filled with overwhelming emotions, concern, hurt, and loss. Worrying for my family in Israel, especially for my younger brother, who continued to serve as a combat veteran major. Like so many, my heart has been heavy with loss. 6 beautiful soul friends and family members, people that I grew up with, were taken from us in this tragedy, in the Nova Music Festival, and in the battles that followed. Tonight, I would like to dedicate the songs to their memory. This is for Yuval Alivni, Shaul Greenlick, Omri Ram, Oded Abergil, Suri Saidi, Aviad Alivni. Together, we carry their memory forward with faith in future of healing. Thank you. כשהלב בוכה, רק אלוהים שומע. הכאב עולה מתוך הנשמה. אדם נופל לפני שהוא שוקע. בתפילה קטנה חותך את הדממה. שמע ישראל אלוהי, אתה כל יכול. נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל. בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט. וכשהלב שותק, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוהי, עכשיו אני לבד. חזק אותי אלוהי, עשה שלא אבחר. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח. עשה שיגמר, כי לא נותר בי כוח. כשהלב בוכה, הזמן עומד מלכת. האדם רואה את כל חייו פתאום. אל הלא נודע, הוא לא רוצה ללכת. ולאלוהיו קורא על סף תהום. שמע ישראל אלוהי, אתה כל יכול. נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל. בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט. וכשהלב שותק, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוהי, עכשיו אני לבד. זק אותי אלוהי, עשה שלא אבחר. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח. עשה שיגמר, כי לא נותר בי כוח. עשה שיגמר, כי לא נותר בי כוח. Beautiful.
For so many years, Jews all over the world have taken a pilgrimage to Poland to bear witness, to walk the steps the train tracks took to Auschwitz and Birkenau and so many other camps. Who would have thought in 2024 that we would have to bear witness in Israel? And in January, just 2.5 months after the horrors of October 7th, some 24 members of this congregation bore witness to the horror, the murder, the rapes, and the loss. We bore witness, visited the injured, brought hope and healing to those in the hospital, made sandwiches for those soldiers who so valiantly were fighting the fight of their lives to try to rescue hostages, to destroy the enemy Hamas. We visited the Nova Festival site in Kibbutzim in the south that were hit most hard. The 3 kibbutzim who suffered the most devastating losses, Be'eri, Kfar Aza, and Ner Oz. Our group visited Kfar Aza, one of the burned out homes that we walked through and bore witness to belonged to a newlywed couple, Sivan Elkabetz and her fiancé, Noor Hasidim. Please pay attention to this visit, as you will see on the video at this time. We are in Kfar Aza, and you can see the houses that have been burnt and destroyed. You can hear in the background bombs because we're a mile from the border.
I'm well aware that we're 104 days. This is Sivan and Noah's apartment. You can see their beautiful faces here. Sivan and Noah were a 23-year-old couple, together since the age of 16. Sivan was the daughter of Shimon El-Kabetz, a former IDF Galatz radio station commander, and her family moved here to the kibbutz about 5 years ago from Ashdod because they wanted to start their life here. They wanted to become kibbutz members. And Sivan and Noah moved into the apartment behind me because they wanted to start their common life together. And we're talking about getting married. And this apartment is also where both of them were murdered on the 7th of October.
My name is Rabbi Ron Goldberg. I was with Rabbi Kamaris on that mission to Israel back in January. I was at Kibbutz Kfar Aza. I want to share with you a poem written by Shimon El-Kabetz to his daughter Sivan. Most terrifying is the longing that lands on you without warning. It makes you cry at the most ill-timed moment, right when you have a bag of items at the checkout counter. What stings the most is the feeling of guilt. Why weren't you with her in the moments of terror, in the hours she was under fire and blood? All she wanted was for you to say everything would be okay. Never again, our leaders promised. Never again, we told our children. Only the world is no longer there for us. Most terrifying is the longing. Why weren't you with her? All she wanted is for you to say everything would be okay. Never again, our parents told us. Never again, our leaders promised. Never again, we told our own children. Only the world is no longer there for us. We're left on our own. Most terrifying is the longing,
like us to stand and Yitgadal, Yitkadal, Meir Rabah, Ba'almad Rah He, Yamlich Malchut He, B'chayachon, Yomachon, Chaye D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalah Ubizman Karib, B'imru. Yehi Shmei Rabah Mevarach, Le'alam U'lalmei Almaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitramam, Yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit alev, v'yit halal, medikra richu. Le'ela u'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, hush v'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, imru. Oseh shalom dimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
You may be seated. As we all know, October 7th was the deadliest attack in Israel's history. 578 soldiers, law enforcement, firefighters, Shin Bet personnel, and first responders, all the professionals who came to their aid. 860 civilians, nearly half of them from the Nova Music Festival, all brutally murdered. And of course, as we all know, on that day, 251 people were taken hostage into Gaza, including women, children, senior citizens, and foreign workers. Thank goodness, some of them are home. Some of them are home even alive. But there are so many more who still wait. That is why it is an honor tonight and a privilege to welcome our guest speaker, Mirav Mor Aviv, who's going to share with us the story of her uncle, aunt, cousin, and nephew, the Munder family, who were taken hostage that day, and her ongoing work and her dedication to freeing them and all who remain in Gaza.
Hi, everyone. First, it's been honored to be here, and I really thank you for inviting me. I'll tell you my family story, which actually starts 120 years ago on 20th of August, where a little Jewish girl, baby girl, was born in Bessarabia. They named her Etale. She grew up to be a Zionist, and she wanted to come to Israel. And after she married David Munder, they decided to come to Israel on 1935. But before that, she was so enthusiasm to come to Israel, so she changed her name to Emunah, which you probably all know what Emunah means. She came to Israel, they came to Israel, they raised a daughter and two sons. One of the sons is my father, and the other one is Abraham Munder, which at the age of 18, he decided to go to settle Israel next to the border, as mentioned here, only 1.5 miles from the Gaza border in Kibbutz Nir Oz. He met his wife Ruthie there, and they had a small family, a daughter and a son, Keren and Ro'i. Ro'i lived in Nir Oz, and Keren moved to Kfar Saba with her partner, and she had, at the age of 45, her only son, Ohad. Since they lived there, and for the past 15 years, we were witness for missiles that the Hamas shoot to that area. Every time there were missiles, we used to call to text them and to see that they are in the shelter and everything is okay. And after a while, things go back to normal, as normal can be. On that terrible Saturday, we all woke up to sirens all over Israel. It was Shabbat of Simchat Torah, as you all know, 6:29 in the morning. So at the beginning, we even didn't bother texting them because we thought for them it's like, normal or usual. And for us, it was something unique. Only when time passes and we couldn't reach them, we thought that it's lack of communication in the beginning, and they told that there's no electricity, and since they are fighting there, but we really we knew nothing. Only about noon, I heard someone talking on the television, and he said, he had a similar story as our story. He said that his wife, I didn't tell you that after a few hours, we discovered that Karen, my cousin, took her son to visit grandma and grandpa in the kibbutz for that weekend, because who doesn't like to visit grandma and grandpa, and especially in the kibbutz, which you saw on the pictures how nice it is, and there's a pool, and the weather was good. So then I heard on the television someone says that his wife and 2 daughters, 2 and 4 years old, went also to visit grandma and grandpa in the same kibbutz, in Kibbutz Nir Oz, and he saw on the video that the Hamas published on Telegram, he saw his wife, his mother-in-law, and his 2 daughters, that they were held in a tractor to Gaza. And he tried to find my iPhone, his wife's iPhone, and he saw that it geolocated in Khan Yunis. And when I heard Khan Yunis, I told my family that my family probably kidnapped to Khan Yunis as well, since I know this kibbutz since I was a small child. And from their window, from the window of their house, you can see Khan Yunis, because as I told you, it's only 1.5 miles. So we knew nothing. I tried to reach a lot of people, and no one could give me information. Only at midnight, one journalist that I was in touch with, that she used to live in that kibbutz, called me and told me, listen, they are not on the list of the survivors, and they are not on the list of the people that we know that got murdered. We assume that they were kidnapped. Now, just imagine now, now after a year, we all got used to the words kidnap and captivity, and we already got used to the impressions. But just think, that Saturday night, I heard that 5 members of the family are held in the hands of those monsters that during that Saturday we started to see all their evil things that they've done. Only 2 days later, one of the kibbutz members had the courage to tell us that actually my cousin Ro'i was murdered. He was found in front of his house on the grass, and his house was burned to ashes, as you saw in the pictures. And when I say ashes, I mean ashes. We couldn't even find DNA to identify his body, and all his close family was in Gaza. So it took like 2 weeks to us to bury him. And since we couldn't bury him in Kibbutz Nir Oz, since it was war, we buried him next to my grandmother and grandfather, Emuna and David Munder, in another kibbutz of my aunt. And in that, on Roi's funeral, I promised my grandparents that I'll do everything I can to bring our lovers back home. And that's what I tried to do. I was in several delegations. I spoke on the media, in the Israeli media, and here in the States and in Europe. We spoke to diplomats, we spoke to congressmen, we spoke to politicians in Israel, in the government and in the Knesset. And we did everything we could. We marched in the rain, in the sun. And after 49 days, Karen, Ruti, and Ohad, my aunt, my cousin, and their son, who, by the way, had his 9th birthday during captivity. They came back. They came back on the first period. There was only one deal, but the first period of the deal, the first night. And because it was the first time, we didn't know what to look for. We didn't know if they're going to walk or if they're going to be, we didn't know what their condition will be. And we were very, very happy and excited to see, to recognize them on the Red Cross ambulance when we saw the images on television. And actually on the ambulance, another hostage that released, that came back, met Ruti, my aunt, and she told her that actually my uncle Abraham was her in the tunnels, in the dark tunnels, for the 49 days that passed. We didn't know why they're not together, but when they came back, we understood how they were kidnapped. My uncle wasn't in a good health. He had a problem. He had balance problem, as he used to walk with a cane. So when the terrorists arrived to the house, you know, they were when the sirens began, they went to the shelter. But I don't know if you all know, but the shelters in Israel are not used. They were built for missiles, not for terrorist attack. So you can't lock them from the inside. So you had to hold the handle. My uncle tried to hold the handle, but since he didn't have that power, the terrorists arrived to the room, to the shelter, and he fell down. And the terrorists just brutally took Karen, Ohad, and Ruthie, and they left him there. On the way out, Karen saw one of the terrorists trying to light the sofa, and she begged him in English. She told him, please don't, please don't. But they left. And all those 49 days, Karen and Ruthie, they didn't know what's going on with Abraham. Only on the ambulance back home to Israel, they discovered that he is alive, but he is in captivity. First thing Ruti says, she said, it's good to be home. But she didn't know that her son was murdered, that her husband is in captivity, and that 25% of her community were either killed or kidnapped. Nir Oz is a small community. There are only 400 people, so imagine 25% of that community. I can talk a lot about the 49 days, what Karen told me regarding the time that they were in captive. But I'll just tell you that there were 10 people. They moved from a place to place, but at the end, like 30 days, they've been in a doctor room, a small doctor room that usually used for one patient and one doctor in a hospital. And they were held there, 10 people from the age of 2. That girl from the beginning of my story was the youngest. She was 2 years old, and the oldest was 85 years old. She's Yafa Adar. You probably know the first scene that we saw in the beginning of that, the old lady that was taking on the club car with her. So they've been there, 10 people in a small room, and when they wanted to go to the bathroom, they had to knock, and it took time that they would open the door. The food was, they didn't know if they'll have, what next meal they will have. So usually Karen told me that they kept a date for later, for the children. And what's interesting is the doctors, after all the women and the children came back, the doctors said that all the women lost at least 10% of their weight. And the children came back in a good condition, physical condition. Meaning the mothers they didn't eat. They let their children eat the food. Karen, by the way, was with 2 other ladies and 2 old ladies, but they were with 2 children, Ohadi Alomi and Erez Calderon, who were kidnapped by themselves with no parents. So they had to encourage them and to give them hope, even though they didn't know what's going on with the boy's family. All the stories that we heard, and it was mentioned here, remind me, as someone who grew up in Israel, the Holocaust stories, exactly the same. And as mentioned here, we used to say never again, and it happened again in 2023 in Israel, and we must do everything that it won't happen again. We thought after the deal that 101 hostages came back, we thought that it will take some more days and all the others will come back, and time passed. And we had the 100-day and then the 200-day, and now we are standing here after a year. But on the 20th of August, as you remember, the 20th of August, when my grandmother Emuna was born, on the 20th of August 2024, we got a phone call from the IDF, and they told us that my uncle's body was released by the IDF from a tunnel 20 meters down. The IDF worked there like 2 days till they found 6 bodies. My uncle with 5 of his friends that they were pioneers in kibbutz Nir Oz. They built this kibbutz like almost 60 years ago. And what we were told that the Hamas murdered them in the beginning of March, meaning 5 months they survived in those tunnels, those dark tunnels with no air, with no conditions for any human being, especially old people who needs their medicine and they need their treatment. There are still 101 people there, innocent citizens that were taken, that brutally taken out of their houses with their pajamas, barefoot, from the Nova Festival, young people, young ladies, young girl soldiers. As a member of the family forums, I feel like all the families are my family already after a year that we are doing lots of activities together. And you can't understand, not you, even I can't understand the feeling of knowing that your loved ones are in those terrible conditions. And I hope, we just have to hope that there will be a deal and that the fights will end and we'll be able to bring them all back as soon as possible, because time runs. And 27 hostages was murdered already the past year during captivity, and we want them to come home alive. And I want to thank you again, and I feel every time I come to Jewish communities, I really feel at home, and I really feel like we are, as Jewish, a big family. So thank you very much. Yeah. I think this is the good one.
Mirav, thank you so much for your words and for giving voice to the memories of all those who passed. Mirav is going to help us memorialize the many victims by lighting 5 candles that are up here. The first for the hostages that did not make it home. The second for the 370 Nova Music Festival victims. The third for the over 700 IDF soldiers killed while bravely defending Israel on October 7th and in the years since. The fourth, civilians in the communities around Gaza on October 7th. And the fifth, for those civilians who were killed by missiles and terrorist attacks this past year, including 12 children playing soccer in the Druze village of Majal Shams, and the recent victims of the attack on a train station in Yafo. Candlelight is significant at moments like this, because candlelight is one of the few things we can give away without diminishing what we have. When we use our flame to light another's wick, our flame is just as strong as it was before we shared it, and the light we create together is even stronger. And when we light a physical candle, we remind ourselves that we must also light the candles in our souls. In these dark times, it is our job, it is our responsibility, it is our duty as Jews to bring light into this darkness. The terrorists want us to be scared back into the dark. They want us to retreat, to stop living, to stop feeling the joy that being Jewish brings us. So when we light that candle in our souls, we deny them the victory that they so desperately crave, but that they can never get. When we light the candle in our souls, we are telling the world our strength will not be dimmed, our spirit will not be dimmed, our joy will not be dimmed. So tonight, as we remember those who have died and those we hope that are still alive, would you please take the electric candles if you have one, twist them at the bottom, And in doing so, let's also light the candles in our souls. Let's light this room up with our love and our light. That way, the terrorists will still know that our love and our light still shine bright. People all over the world will know that our love and our light still shine bright. And our brothers and sisters, Achenu ve'achiotenu, still in captivity, can know and feel that our love and our light still shine bright. And to that end, I invite Cantor Asher to lead us in the singing of Achenu, the prayer that expresses our fervent wish that those held captive be released, and as the song says, Hashta ba'agala uvizman kariv, speedily and in the coming days, bring them home now.
To thank Amanda Pipolo for joining us tonight. Beautiful voice. I'd like to invite Mike and Robin from our Israel committee to read the prayer for the state of Israel.
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גואלתנו. הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ושלח אורך ואמתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך. חזק את ידי מגיני ארץ קודשנו, והנחילנו אלוהים ישועה ועטרת ניצחון תעטרם, ונתת שלום בארץ ושמחה עולם ליושביה.
Stronghold and redeemer of the people of Israel. Bless the state of Israel, the beginning of our redemption.
Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. Amen.
שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם השם, עושה שמיים וארץ, אל יתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. השם שומרך, השם צלך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל ישמור את נפשך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם. מעתה ועד עולם.
How many of you had the opportunity to attend, to visit the Nova Exhibit Festival? Okay. So the words on the screen should be familiar to you. Az nirkod shuv. We will dance again. You see, their spirit is part of the spirit of Israel. It's the very essence, the neshama of the Jewish people. Volunteerism within Israel. Jews and others who have made their way from diaspora to Israel to be part of rebuilding. We do not cower, we do not retreat, we do not leave. In the south, they're not turning those kibbutzim and moshavim into memorials. They're figuring out how to rebuild them. And they're beginning to return. In the north, they've been displaced, and we know what's happening there now to try and reclaim safety in the north of Israel. But they will return. We have survived through the Crusades, through the pogroms, through the Holocaust. We are not a people who will die. That is not an option. We are resilient. That's why we turn to phrases like Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people shall live. People in Israel are still celebrating life, b'nai mitzvah, marriages. They know to give up hope is to give up life. They know to give up hope and to stop living is to give a victory to our enemies. And so our hearts are with them. Am Yisrael Chai is part of our slogan of vitality and life. And we are people of hope. Hatikva. That is our mantra. That is our watchword. We're going to continue with the conclusion of our program that will include the singing of Am Yisrael Chai, and then we'll join together in Hatikva.
One more time, okay. בקרוב תזרח השמש, נדע ימים יפים מאלה, הלב נלחם בדאגות. כולם יחזרו הביתה, נחכה להם למטה, הלוואי נדע בשורות טובות. הנצח לעולם לא מפחד, אפילו כשקשה לראות. כולם ביחד, אף אחד פה לא בודד, שישרפו המלחמות. עם ישראל חי, אם לא נדע תמיד להיות מאוחדים. ישראל חי, בעליות, בירידות, גם בשעות הכי קשות. הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, אז מי יכול עלינו? כי אין לנו עוד מדינה, נעשה שלום בינינו, שמור על ילדינו, כי לא ארצי נחלתנו, לא תיפול כעת רוחנו, מסביב ברזל של חרב. אבות. ויונה תפרוס כנפיים, התקווה בת שנות 2000, לא נצא לשיר ברחובות. כי עם הנצח לעולם לא מפחד, אפילו כשקשה לראות. כולם ביחד, אף אחד פה לא בודד, שישרפו מלחמות. עם ישראל חי, אם לא נדע תמיד להיות מאוחדים. עם ישראל חי, בעליות בירידות, גם בשעות הכי קשות. הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, מי יכול עלינו? כי אין לנו עוד מדינה. תעשה שלום בינינו, שמור על ילדינו, כי לא אבדה אמונה. עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי. עם ישראל חי.
Meirav, when you go home, you'll make sure to let everybody know that they are not alone, that we stand together, that throughout Israel you see signs everywhere. Am Yisrael Chai is a reminder to Israel that they will not be cowered by the enemy. And here in America, what is our message, Am Yisrael Chai? That we renew our commitment to what it means to be Jewish. That we double down on our efforts not only to support Israel, but not only to fight anti-Semitism here in America, but to stay strong as Jews, to stay connected to community, to stay true to our Torah, to remind ourselves every single day of our lives that we are proud and we are strong. Am Yisrael Chai. I want to thank our incredible Israel Committee, and particularly the leadership and vision of Shani Chen Sion, of Carol Levin and Robin Solomon, for this moving tekes, this moving ceremony. And most of all, I want to thank all of you, the members of HAMAKOM, who remember to keep us strong all the time, because that is what we need and that is what Israel needs. Let us rise at this time for Hatikva, a reminder that only as Jews we never give up hope. Am Yisrael Chai, Erev Tov. please take your candles. There are baskets in the back as you walk out, and place the candles back in those baskets.